So during my dopamine detox, I felt very, very bored, and not being on my phone was surprisingly harder than I thought. And I came up with this like draft of boredom and what it means, what it leads to, and as you guys see at the very top, why boredom equals success. I broke it down here as just like some cliff notes, but little outline of things that I discovered. But for me, boredom means your life is stable. I know a lot of people think boredom means you're not living life, it's not exciting. But if you're trying to be successful and you're trying to achieve great things, if you record someone that's, I don't know, Ronaldo, or when they were on the come up and they were practicing and shooting balls 24/7, it probably didn't look that exciting. They're probably doing just routines, bodybuilding as well, right? It's a lot of eating, a lot of work behind the scenes, same with everything else. And to a lot of people, they just see the finished result, which looks exciting, looks sexy. But in reality, a lot of it is going to be seen as very boring to many people, especially with the short spans that people have right now. They can't really pay attention for long periods of time. Chaos feels exciting, ties back to what I just said, but it's usually misalignment, and that is very, very true. I think a lot of times we think, okay, well, I'm excited, that means I'm on the right path. In reality, sometimes you're just distracted. It just feels, and I tie this back to like ancient stories and movies, because when you do feel like the chaos within a movie, you know something is not right. Repetition is the engine of progress. Same workouts, same habits, same discipline. Growth happens quietly. As I started bodybuilding, as I started working out more recently and just getting everything in order and putting my phone away, that's something that I've realized. I think I worked out for like a good 6 months and felt like I wasn't really seeing the results. And then like month 7, and for everybody's different, right? I started slowly seeing the progress, but nevertheless, the progress did come with a ton of repetition. Is it exciting all the time? No. But I think just sticking to it and seeing the result of not being distracted that's the payoff. The mental strength is the payoff. Self-control creates boredom. Not picking up my phone. I mean, I couldn't even eat or take a dump without my phone. Like, that's how bad it was. And I think most people are like that, because I see people joking about it all the time. So if I could relate to that joke, and many people can too, that means it's probably a lot of people doing it. But self-control creates boredom. It starts off that way, but then as you change your view, you start realizing that self-discipline is slowly creating the space for success. If you're constantly distracted, you're going to be on autopilot, and you might not even see anything wrong. You might be like, you might just be like the movie Click, where you press fast forward to the promotion. Most people are on that autopilot to retirement, autopilot to, their 2 weeks vacation, autopilot to, I don't know, the end of their life, whatever, milestone that they are looking forward to. But they don't look forward to the mundane routines, because they're not really building anything in those boring days. But if you're using those boring days to build, they don't feel like a waste of time. Drama is a sign of unresolved weakness. I feel like I rarely come across this, but I did come across it in my experiment of being bored. And I think sometimes you're going to have to develop some healthy boundaries and exercise that, which, it's good for practice anyways. But as you're trying to create success, remove distractions, drama kind of comes up. And the way I viewed this as someone that watches like a ton of movies or have watched a ton of movies is kind of like the Matrix, when the virus knows that Neo is awake and could be the one to take down the system, and it starts attacking him. Or Inception, the movie where the girl starts building the world really quickly, and then the world starts her own mind starts attacking her because it's different. That's kind of how I see drama when you're trying to build success. Comfort is dangerous. Order is boring. Comfort is right there with distraction, and it could be the other coin of boredom. But comfort, I think a lot of people work for comfort, and you have to change your mindset on that as well, is that comfort is a double-edged sword, right? I think a lot of people are like, let me just work, get home, lay down, eat some easily accessible meals, which usually are high in fat, sugar, and carbs, which completely destroy your physique, your mental state, and that comes along with distractions, comes along with being constantly entertained, comfort. Boredom means you're not chasing dopamine. Dopamine is a very, very interesting thing, because at some point you're going to get to your life where you're comfortable, and dopamine is highly depleted in a lot of people nowadays because of the constant cell phone use, short dopamine hits. But the way you have to view dopamine is, if you did not earn it, it's completely bad. And when I was constantly entertaining myself, using my phone, watching shows, when I knew I needed to work out or needed to cook or do something, that short dopamine is basically telling your brain that you don't need to do much to get what you need, right? Because we're designed for survival, but my body just wants calories, right? If whatever calories I put into it, it could care less. And same with entertainment, same with, if you're watching, naked chicks on a TV or on your phone, your brain doesn't know any different from that and a real chick. So it's telling you you're able to achieve something. The way I view it is like, there's the amount of access we have to, women, shows, violence, tasty foods. Only like a king would have access to that back like 1,000 years ago. Now we have, chocolate. I think about this, like, you could eat chocolate, you could eat pastries, you could eat all kinds of junk that, back in the day people thought that were like a luxury. Like, chocolate was a huge luxury thousands of years ago. Now it's like people are eating that like crazy. But you have to view it as like, you have to restrain. It's not just what you put into your mind, is also, you also have to say no to a lot of things. You can't just be like, well, I watched this, crazy movie that made me feel like this. It's like, okay, well, how is that benefiting your overall mission? This I kind of found, because I read a lot of Stoicism, and I read meditations, and this one, ancient men respect the routine, not excitement. I feel like Marcus Aurelius touched a lot on this, and routine will make or break you. If you really write down, most people won't do this, but if you write down your routine, you would be like, what the hell have I done? Like, literally do a checklist, do a to-do list. Most people will be like, I got to do this, this, and that. They'll sit down, put their shoes on, and then they'll be like, let me check something on my phone. And, 30 minutes, an hour goes by, gets up, maybe, I don't know, brushes her teeth or something. Oh, let me check my phone. It's going to just rob you of your time. You realize you maybe do, if you have like 5 things to do, you might maybe do one, if that. So I think setting a good, healthy routine will get you further in life. At the end of the day, it's like to get further in life, it really comes down to, are you getting shit done? If you're getting things done, then you're going to progress faster than most people, faster than you have before. And you have to measure it. I heard this trainer one time say, it was a bodybuilding trainer, says, if you can't measure it, you can't change it. And I've been measuring everything: food, exercises, sleep, just even like tasks that I have to do outside of, my health, things like that. Predictability allows compounding. That goes back to, you can't measure it, you can't change it. And if you can predict it, if you can measure it, you can predict it, you have more control, you have a better idea of the path that you're heading in. Peace feels boring to a chaotic mind. I think at first your mind's going to be very addicted to chaos. You're constantly getting those cheap dopamine hits through your phone, through junk food, easy accessible foods. But after a while, you fight that like boredom. You'll start thinking like, oh, it'd be nice to learn another language. It would be nice to do this. And one thing that I felt like I had all the time in the world. When I got past the chaotic mind, I was just like, okay, I do have time. I wrote this down because I think during my path, I was like, am I bored or am I freaking depressed? But depression definitely is dysfunction, numbness to things. I still had excitement. I still felt feelings. I wasn't mentally spiraling. But I did have structure. I was calm. And this came a lot with better sleep as well. I wasn't staying up super late, watching TV, like I said, getting cheap dopamine hits. Success looks dull from the inside. I got to rewrite this because I feel like it looks dull from the inside and outside when you're doing the repetitive stuff. I think once you get the finished result, it doesn't look dual to both the inside and the outside. When nothing feels urgent, you're ahead, 100%. I think a lot of people, especially in the capitalist world, most people feel like they have to be busy all the time. They're like going fast. They're going nowhere fast. That's how I view it. And it's kind of like when you have like a paper due, and instead of working on the paper, you start sweeping, you start washing the dishes. You're doing everything but what you need to do in that very moment. And that's what I don't know, fake sense of urgency feels like. Mastery removes friction. I think at the point when you start getting things down, it does remove that friction. You're no longer like, oh my God, I have to do this, I gotta do that. But also set yourself up for success. Like when I was cooking, I was like, dang, I have to be over the pot and pans and making sure things don't burn. I got a rice cooker, I got, air fryer. All the things that I need to make it, to remove the friction. But as you get better with things, it does remove the friction. It just takes time. Yeah, and the very last, boredom is what winning feels like before you get used to it. 100%. I think you get like a peace, you get a better sense of direction, and you just feel like you're on the path. But at first it doesn't feel like that. It just feels like I am bored out of my mind. You're going to start reflecting on all the mistakes you've made in your past and thinking like, oh my God. And then you might be like, let me just go on my phone. This sucks. I'm bored. I'm not happy. Embrace the boredom. Reflect. Your brain's going to try to go into problem solving mode, or I want to be entertained mode, hit dopamine. But once you switch over to the let me earn this dopamine and not just consume cheap dopamine, your life will begin to change. It completely changes. But anyways, if you guys found this talk fun, relatable, like, subscribe, and until next time.